All right, guys, so here's what I want to do. A couple weeks ago, I did a challenge. I did a functional weight loss challenge, and it was 5 days, and it was done through email. And basically, I went from, I showed doctors and practitioners how to go from basically nothing, basically an idea, to close to 30K a month. This is where we landed for April, right at 20. I've got some calls this afternoon, so hoping to crack 30K in the last 30 days, roughly. 26K. 100% weight loss, so this does not include thyroid and ADHD and my other stuff, autoimmune. This is purely functional weight loss. And so I did a challenge, 5 days. It was basically day one was all clinical, right? The clinical protocol that we use for it, sensitivities, deficiencies, toxicities, inflammation, sugar, bad fats, you get the idea, cell health. So we broke down the clinical side. Day two of the challenge was, and I'll stream that one tomorrow on YouTube, and I'll put all 5 videos on my channel here, so you can kind of go through the challenge if you want. They're longer videos, they're in-depth deep dive trainings that we did, but there's 5 of them. So day two was all about day one, right? How do I master this day one phone consultation? How do I do consults in under 20 minutes? So the questions I ask, right? The order, the framework of what that discovery call looks like. To close these types of case fees. So that was day two. Day three is all about sales funnel. Like, what does my funnel look like? What does my video sales letter look like? What is that foundation? So we break down the sales funnel mastery. That's day three. And then day four is all about marketing. Let's turn on the traffic. Let's get eyeballs on the operation. For example, here's one of my YouTube ads. I know this is kind of hard to see, but this is a YouTube ad. It's unlisted. You're not going to find it. Don't try and search for it. No, the only people that see this video are the people that are searching weight loss. They're hunting for help. That's YouTube. That's Google. You have to understand that Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, that's all interruption-based marketing. It's not where you want to play. You want to be on Google and YouTube because that is intent-based marketing. People are searching for help. They're hunting for solutions. This one right here, we have 17,000 views on this one. In just like a couple months. And so this is an ad, it's 4 minutes, but it helps pack my calendar full. Packs my calendar, not that one, this one. Packs my calendar full of new patients, and I get on the phone and I close case fees over the phone. Singles, not massive case fees, look at this. The average card, so I toggle up, I toggle down. Sometimes it's a 500, sometimes it's 2K, sometimes it's 500, 1,500, whatever you want to do. But that's what we do here. And it is too hard to see, but over the course of it's basically the course of a month and a couple days. So let's move into day one. So let's just segue right into day one, and then tomorrow we'll do day two, then day three, day four. And if you want this framework, this blueprint, this shortcut, reach out to me. We'll hop on a quick call and we'll see if it makes sense. But my goal is to take you from nothing to 30K. You can go more if you want to. The limiting factor becomes how many calls can you take and what does your budget look like. It's not free. I don't play the free game. I don't play the SEO game where it's unpredictable and you're at the mercy of somebody else. I play somebody's searching weight loss. I'm going to stick my weight loss video right in front of that weight loss video. Eric Berg's talking about ketogenic diet. I'm going to stick my ketogenic diet right in front of his. I'm going to hijack, right? Strategically and ethically hijack my competition. I don't have to have followers. It doesn't matter. I mean, I have 300 on this page. I have 300 subscribers. Who cares? I'm a nobody. It doesn't matter. The goal is to get attention and get eyeballs on your operation, and high quality eyeballs, not tire kickers, not plate lickers, not information seekers. Google and YouTube, that is where you need to focus. So let's move right on into day one. All right, guys, welcome to day one of this 5-day challenge on functional weight loss and weight loss practice. Step one, we have to get this clinical system in place, all right? And so that's what I want to do in this video is walk you through the clinical framework of functional weight loss, the labs we use, the price structure, and how this thing works from a clinical perspective. So I'm going to walk you through a few slides. This should be a shorter training, right? I'm gonna go quick. By the way, there's always gear settings on these videos, and so if I talk too slow, which most of the time I talk too fast, but if I talk too slow, hit the gear setting, and you can always speed me up. So if you want to get through these faster, you can. Let me take you back over a decade at this point, probably 13, 14 years. This book. So at that time, we were doing a lot of HCG. So this is going to tie into this protocol of sensitivities, deficiencies, and toxicities, right? And fat melting off as a side effect of getting healthy. So let me rewind. 13, 14 years. I was doing HCG. That's the 500 calorie stuff. Drops under the tongue, sublingual drops, homeopathic stuff. It works, right? It worked. But some people losing 5 pounds in a month. The next person's losing 20, 25 pounds in a month, doing the exact same thing. Eating the exact same foods, doing the exact, they're not strenuously exercising. They're on the same path. But why was there this discrepancy? Then this darn thing shows up, right? Your hidden food allergies are making you fat. This is from LCAT. And we started LCATing our patients, right? It was a pain in the butt though, because we had to send them across to the lab, and it was fax this and fax this, and I can't find this, and it was a pain in the butt. So then we brought the testing in-house through a quick finger prick. But this thing is, at the time, this shows up, and I was like, I couldn't sleep at night because people get on the scale, and there's this discrepancy, this unpredictability. And then this shows up, and this thing's over 300 pages, but it's all about sensitivities, intolerances, allergies, and inflammation. Inflammation, right? It's next to impossible to lose weight when the person is inflamed. And I talk about that in my VSL, my video sales letter, and I'll talk about that in just a second too. If the cells are damaged and the receptors here can't hear, there becomes insulin resistance, there becomes leptin resistance, thyroid doesn't work very well, right? Testosterone issues, estrogen, you get the idea. So I'll talk more about that in a second. But this shows up, I said, God darn it, we gotta start food testing our patients. So we added the food testing, and that what it did, it leveled the playing field. So now these fives, they just vanished. And now everybody's like 20, 25 pounds in a month. And so it kind of, so here's the thing. So again, this is talking about pillar number 1, which is sensitivities. 3 main reasons why we test, okay? You might want to write these down. 3 main reasons. Number 1 is it gives the gut a break, okay? Most disease and dysfunction, not all, but most disease and dysfunction starts in your gut. We need to have a solid gut, okay? So that's why you food test. It takes the pressure and the stress off of your gut, okay? Reason number 2 is that it takes the stress off of the immune system. Okay, when we test, we're looking at an IgG, that delayed immune response. So, right, one of these, you've seen these before, right? Big spikes to different things. We're like, hey, get rid of that food for 6 months, get rid of that food for 3 months. It's an objective. Patients love this because it's objective. It's black and white. It's not guesswork. It's not muscle testing, which, whatever it is. If 10 doctors or practitioners muscle tested, we'd probably get 10 different opinions. This is how it is. This is a third-party lab. It's a blood test. Nobody ever questions the blood test. They don't question blood work. It's the gold standard, right? And it's on paper. It's black and white. It's yes or no. Patients like that. So we food test, right? That's the second reason why is obviously it takes the stress off of the immune system. We have an autoimmune epidemic in this country, in case you haven't noticed, and it's going to get worse, by the way. So if you want to do functional weight loss, awesome, we'll scale that up. But another side niche would be autoimmune. Just saying, you can get filthy rich getting into autoimmune. I'll show you how to do that. By the way, these trainings, these modules, they can be extrapolated into other niches as well, right? What I'm going to show you, that framework, right, can be used when we're talking day ones and marketing and different things and funnels and closing patients and this kind of stuff. You can use this for other conditions, right? So keep that in mind. All right, third reason is what, so immune system, that's the second reason. Third reason why we test is inflammation. This book is 300 pages about sensitivities and inflammation, right? So I know if we can take the stress off of the gut, the immune system, and reduce that inflammation, it's a damn good starting point, right? So that's pillar number 1 is sensitivities. Pillar 2 is deficiencies. So we use a lab that does hair analysis for the nutrients. They also look at heavy metals too. So for nutrients, okay, it's a simple panel. Send it in. Again, the results are typically back in 10 to 12 days. But for the nutrients, there's 50 different vitamins and nutrients that are tested. And hey, if we're deficient in vitamin D or zinc or glutathione or vitamin B12 or B2, whatever it is, we're going to fill in the gaps. Okay, I've had patients come in with a duffel bag full of pills, and I dump it on my desk. I'm like, why are you taking that? And they say, well, I saw it on Facebook that it might help with X, Y, Z. Well, my question is, are you depleted in that? Are you deficient in that? I said, I don't know. Well, let's test. Right? Standard American diet is very processed, very void of any substantial nutrient value. So we look at nutrients, because I tell them the most expensive vitamin is the one you don't need, and the most expensive vitamin is the one that doesn't work. So if they're taking vitamin D or magnesium, and we say, hey, we're deficient or we're depleted, I say, well, let's make a pivot because what you're taking is not working. I use whole scripts. You can use full scripts. You can use whatever. I work virtually. I work from home most of the time. Sometimes I work from my car or a coffee shop. I take calls from wherever. I can do whatever I want, go wherever I want. But I don't want my house looking like a GNC, right? So I punt to whole scripts, and they do my fulfillment, and I get checks in the mail for this side of things. Now I also use systemic formulas. I use a lot of prep body brain phase. I use a lot of systemic stuff. If they have high blood pressure, I might put them through this protocol, and here's HP, the high blood pressure protocol. If they have other conditions, maybe they have cholesterol, okay, let's do this one. So there's some variability. That's the thing. It's a functional program. It's not a one-size-fits-all cookie cutter. Everybody gets the same thing because everybody is unique, and that's the uniqueness that we have. And when I run my YouTube ad, I say, hey, your program is going to be vastly different from your friends because you are vastly different. You are different. You are unique, and everybody's got a different plan. Everybody's, ketogenic might work great for some people. For the next person, it is their worst nightmare because they react to all the dairy and avocados and bacon and different things. So I don't, keto is good, but it's not good for everybody. Okay. So toxicities, this is what we give them. So I have a book, and if you want it, it's part of my program. Let me dig it out here. So this is the program. This is an 86-page procedure manual that I give patients, okay? And that has a journal within it, and it has their toxins to avoid, hidden sugars to avoid. Let me go on our toxin rant because I tell patients, your body hangs on to fat as a buffer against toxins. It's a protective mechanism, right? So we have to minimize high fructose corn syrup, preservatives, nitrates, MSG, trans fats, colors, dyes, aspartame, all the artificial weirdness that they're putting in processed foods. We have to get rid of that stuff. So the toxins are in this book, as well as the hidden sugars. So it's not just sugar, it becomes high fructose corn syrup. Then that wrecks your liver, so let's call it something else. Let's call it corn syrup. Let's call it tapioca starch, which is a super sugar, cranks up your blood sugar and then your insulin, even worse than regular sugar. So there's other things that they need to be aware of to take them off this roller coaster of standard American diet, which is spike, crash, right? That's the roller coaster that leads to disease and dysfunction. That's the fastest way to destroy your health, is chronically spike your blood sugar with every single meal. That's why we have 30 million Americans with type 2 diabetes. That's why we have 88 million Americans that are pre-diabetic, which is 1 in 3 people. Pre-diabetes, which means if they don't get off this roller coaster within a couple years, they're going to have full-blown type 2. And with that comes blindness, your eyes go bad, your kidneys go bad, numbness, tingling, neuropathies, and you get the idea. I'm preaching to the choir. You know this stuff. But we give patients this book, and it's got all their tools. It talks about inflammation, talks about water, exercise, intermittent fasting, but it hammers home on the 3 pillars, right, of sensitivities, deficiencies, and toxicities. And then, fat is going to melt off as a side effect of becoming healthy. Here are the other benefits, right? This is what we see on a daily basis. They sleep better, right? Brain fog clears because remember, there's a gut-brain connection. If the gut is a mess, guess what else is a mess? Because of the gut-brain axis. That's why we food test our ADHD our patients, our ADHD patients that I've been doing for a decade and a half, right? Gut-brain connection, anxiety, depression, brain fog, So patients start to sleep better, brain fog clears, greater mental clarity, they have more energy throughout the day. So less afternoon crashes, or less 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon rolls around. Most people are crashing because they have Subway for lunch, a foot long, a 6 long, whatever, or a 6 inch or a foot long, whatever it is, and it crashed them. Maybe they're washing it down with liquid candy. Hopefully not, but most people are. So they have more energy throughout the day. They have improved digestion, better gut health. Remember, most disease and dysfunction starts in your gut, and they feel less achy, they're less inflamed. Inflammation comes down. So a lot of these itises clear up. The bursitis and tendinitis and arthritis and gastritis in your stomach and plantar fasciitis in your feet, that a lot of these itises go away when you can start to fix the cell. And that's getting into my video sales letter, which I'll show you right here. Here's what this thing looks like. And this is my program. If you want access to, and we'll talk about this more throughout the week, But you can use, we have doctors and practitioners that use my VSL. Let me just refresh this thing. It's 32 minutes. Actually, 30,
these hidden
closer to 34. But there's a framework to this thing.
Right, food
that
confusion. Right, there's
does
underlying
really well.
success
So
comes to those back for around 3. The treatment
this
for
is
that
what I want to get to right that have thyroid. I walk through cell health, okay, and this is another uniqueness that very few other practitioners have, and that's what we have. Here's what a healthy cell looks like. Okay, good receptors. There's crap can come out of the cell, right? Toxins and junk can come out. Good stuff can get in, right? Oxygen, nutrients can get it. There's this flow. Dysfunction. What do you see? More red, right? There's the red is inflammation, but these receptors get damaged. They get blunted. They get broken. So now your hormones cannot communicate. Your hormones can't communicate, can't get into the cell. Your cells can't communicate, and things start to dysfunction. Okay. Here's disease, right? Now when we think disease, now we're thinking type 2 diabetes. We're thinking maybe autoimmune condition, maybe Hashimoto's, maybe this kind of stuff. So disease, what happens? That cell is jammed shut. Right? We have inflammation wrecking the cells, wrecking the receptors. And so here's insulin trying to get in the cell, can't hear. Okay, so you're basically, they put you on insulin, and then, okay, it works for a little bit. Okay, it screams at the cell a little bit, but now we got to scream a little bit louder, right? So that it starts to work. So basically you're screaming louder and louder at a cell that cannot hear. And what we need to do is start fixing the cell. We need to reduce inflammation. We need to detoxify at the cell level. And you'll never truly get well until you fix the cell. And there's a lot of systemic formula stuff that we use. And so, it could be testosterone issue, it could be estrogen, it could be leptin resistance. So with leptin, that's just the hormone that says, hey, I'm full, I need to quit eating. But if you're leptin resistant, if the receptors are so damaged that there's, cell can't hear, right? Messenger can't get the information into the cell, then things dysfunction, and you eat too much and you feel like garbage. And could be thyroid, right? It could be, and if I forward just a second here, you can see here's T4. T4 is essentially synthetic, levothyroxine or Synthroid. And again, the blood work might look good. They're just trying to fix the blood work. However, I can't tell you how many thyroid patients have come in. They're on the Synthroid, Synthroid levothyroxine, yet they still have the symptoms. They still can't lose weight. They're constipated. They got hair loss. They're fatigued, they're depressed, they wake up tired, they got brittle nails, the classic thyroid symptoms, because nobody ever fixed the cell. Nobody ever addressed gut, right? Nobody ever addressed the story of inflammation, and we need to get T3, we need the cells fixed so that T3 can get into the cell and things can start to function better, versus just, hey, let's throw a bunch of T4 at this thing and let's fix your blood work. Meanwhile, they still feel like trash, right? So this is my VSL. I'll talk more about this video sales letter when we get into, I think it's day 4, I believe. No, day 3. Day 3 is all about funnels. So we're gonna break down this VSL in greater detail in just a couple days. But I just wanted to kind of walk you through that. The goal here is to detox and deflame the cells, and we do that through a combination of systemic formulas plus sensitivity testing, deficiency testing, minimizing toxins, reducing that inflammation, reducing those sugars and hidden sugars, and this is what we see. Right, so it's an amazing protocol, and again, thousands of people have been through it. So I will wrap this up. That is the clinical protocol. Again, you have to be unique and different, and that is what we have. Right, so we food test, nutrient test. By the way, let me run through the math real quick. I didn't talk about that because you might be thinking what is your hard cost to put a patient through this clinical protocol? It's $284. The food testing, the finger prick, is $149. Okay, we have our own labs. By the way, we have our own labs to prevent all the undercutting that's going on with lab work right now. So I don't want to mention names, but there's a lot of big labs out there that there's buttons all over page 1 of Google by functional medicine doctors. They're trying to sell kits, and there's buttons. And if the patient gets this test kit back and they go to Google and they see this button, well, that's your ceiling. Whether it's $179 or whatever it is, that becomes your ceiling. I don't want that. So we have our labs that are privately labeled and generic. Our food testing is generic, or hair analysis for nutrients is generic, so that you can charge $500. That's what I charge for nutrients and foods. So it's a kind of combo panel. They look at heavy metals as well, but I charge $500, and patients they're not going to go to Google or Amazon and find it cheaper online. I want that protection so that they're not going to be disgruntled and say, oh my gosh, I could have found it cheaper online if I would have went this route. No, we don't want that. So that's why we have our lab. So your cost on that is $284. So it's $149 for the finger prick blood test, $149. And again, the lab we use, they've been around for decades, CLIA certified, all that stuff. And what was I going to say about that? CLIA certified, been around forever. And we buy in bulk. So we buy the bulk discount. Is if you go straight to that lab, you're going to pay probably close to $200. Maybe it's $180. It's going up. Inflation, everything's going up, right? Maybe $180, $190. We've locked in years ago, massive bulk volume. Because we do so much volume, I went to that lab and say, hey, if we test hundreds and hundreds of patients a month, and I have practitioners doing the same, like, how low can we get this thing? $149, we pass that savings, that discount on to you guys. So $149 on the food test. It's $135 for the nutrient panel. Okay, $135. So combine the two, you're at $284. Now you can charge patients $997, $1497, $24.97, whatever you want to charge. That's up to you. Okay, your skill set, your skill level, and we'll talk about that when we get into the math and the metrics and what to charge patients. But just understand your hard cost is $284. You want the book too. A lot of docs use this as a virtual PDF download too. You can do it that way. You'll have the digital version of this. But I send hard copies. Like I still send hard copies. I had a patient yesterday from Hawaii, so I sent one of these bad boys to. So it's a book, kit, off in the mail, off to Hawaii. He's going to test himself. Because I'm virtual, remember. He's going to test himself. He's going to send it in. I'm going to get the results, and I'm going to do a video screen share telling him what to do, which is 10 minutes on the background, on the back end. So it's a day one call, which we'll talk about tomorrow, right? Closing on day one. It's a day one call, and then followed by a Loom screen share on day two, so that they know what to do. I give them the recommended action plan, so they know what foods to eat, for how long, how to reintroduce. You get the idea. So, all right, guys, clinical framework. It is a game changer, and it's super, super important. Again, you can't just push calorie restriction because there's nothing. You can't charge a lot of money for telling somebody to eat less. There's no value there. You have to tie in some things that have a high perceived value, right? So hey, we're using third-party labs that do the analysis. We're going to we're going to look at blood work. We're going to look at nutrients, find out where you're depleted and deficient. We're going to look at heavy metals. We're going to look at environmental culprits that might be holding you back. So when you can hit these bullet points, that brings your case value. Like, it's a high perceived value, so that you can charge $9.97. You can't charge $9.97 and say, hey, let's do ketogenic and you're not going to eat so much. They're not going to do it, right? And so then you become like, I got to charge this. I got to charge $300 for this program, right? And then you're going to be upside down in your ad spend, and you'll never scale. I want to help you scale to 30K, 40K, or beyond, or 10K, whatever you want. I'll show you the map. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.